So this is a different site. This is a site that is in ownership by the McKenzie River Trust. I think it's been in their ownership for about 4 or 5 years maybe right now. It's a wetland, but the desired conditions for this site is to open up the overstory. So what's already happened is some cutting down of a lot of the ash. There's an overabundance of ash here, overabundance of rose, native rose, even if it's native. Oregon ash and native rose are natives. If you can, there's such thing as too much of a good thing, and that's what we have at this site. And so it's already got some established slash piles from where they have cut down, already cut down some trees that weren't desired. And so right now what we're trying to do, we're trying to fit this in. We got here a little late in the season, but we're trying to do some work before the rain comes back and really turns it back into a wetland, or the foliage, you know, it falls off so much, there's really no benefit for us being here. So we're watching, even though we've started to have some rain now, we're watching the soil conditions. I don't want to damage any of the hummocks, which are the natural kind of, hard to explain, the bumpiness, I guess, of the wetland. Here you're going to see different kind of vegetation altogether. Since they have opened up the overstory, we've got a lot of canary grass. We've got this ash that we're trying to munch back from where it was masticated before cut down. A lot of rose, and now that we've had about a week of rain and now we're in a dry period, some grass is starting to come back up. It won't be here for very long. I estimate on the short side we'll be here for 2 more weeks, on the long side maybe 4 weeks. It really just depends. So this is a very tricky site. We have there's no infrastructure here. I brought in 70 T-posts that had to be driven in the hard clay of summer. And there's a lot of intermittent posts as well, you know, just to keep the lines up. Taking care of the site is a little like caring for a bonsai tree. So I'm constantly monitoring what vegetation is coming up underneath the lines. The rose really regenerates very fast. The difference between the dry season and the wet season can make the structure flex. You know, the moisture on the poly tape or even the poly wire can make the lines sag. So I'm constantly readjusting tension. I'm looking for places where maybe the animals are kicking up a stick, or they've carried some vegetation on their backs and now it's stuck on a wire. Anything that's going to, you know, ground out or reduce the electricity that's flowing through the electric fence here. Along the main front of the site, I also added some kind of construction webbing, so I didn't want the animals to be tempted to run into the road. So that makes it a little bit more tangly, and they would have to encounter the electric, causes them to encounter the electric much more difficult to get through it. And also visually, I didn't want them to catch sight of the road. Wasn't exactly sure without a perimeter fence how all this was going to go. This is a very unique site. All the infrastructure that you see, I had to bring in myself. So their pen, the electric fencing. There's no water. I'm not allowed to pump from the creek, and it might not even be good water for them. So I bring in their water. I have solar panels here that are helping me to make sure that the battery as a backup power source to the Energizer is so that everything is in working order. In case one system runs out, it's got a backup system. So less solar here during the rainy season as clouds are coming in. So there's that to consider. Yeah, so this is, I've already lost 1 animal here. We had a cougar predation last week. You got taken down. My dog didn't get here quite in the nick of time, but yeah, they broke out of their pen last week and overnight, and so that caused the predator issue. So this is a tool that I invested in recently, and which was critical for a project like this. Especially because it's such a large project. We probably cover you know, I think it's over 3 acres here, probably with the jig-jag lines, it's probably closer to 4 acres. I mean, so there's just a lot of poly tape, poly wire, things that could go wrong. You know, it's always, every situation is unique. So this is called a fault finder. And how this is different than an energizer tester is that it will actually tell you where you might be grounding out or losing power, and show you the direction you need to travel and how much power you're losing. So every time I visit the site, which is at least twice a day, sometimes more, I am testing my lines just to make sure something hasn't changed. A few weeks ago, there was what I think was probably an elk that got tangled in my lines, took all the power down on the backside, broke lines. Luckily, nobody got out because they were penned, but it was really important for me to know as soon as I walk in, you know, and I do find this works better when your lines are under a little tension. So there, with a fault finder, you have a groove that you can put your wire underneath to test it. But I actually find that I get a better reading if I do a direct contact under good tension with this metal end point right here. I get false readings if I do it otherwise, particularly with tape. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I have good contact with when I can see a filament, a wire filament in here. It's telling me how much electricity I'm getting to go through, because there's no one line that created this whole fence. There's buckles in it, and you know, things to bring together multiple, you know, spools. So I'm always looking for where an accident or a mistake might have happened. So I like to check this side of it first. This is the furthest side away from my source of energy. What I've learned from other people, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this in your experience, but usually where you're going to have a problem with your electric is at one of your ends, you know, or at a corner, you know, where there's something that might be, maybe it's, I do use metal T-posts, so there's the possibility of grounding out if I'm not using my extended insulators. So it can get tricky. So again, having a fault finder where it can tell you how far you are away from your problem will save you so much time. It is a spendy device, but I tell you, it's so worth it. Save your nickels. This will keep you from buying things that you don't need, so you can diagnose your problem a lot faster.